all my cutest little children. I hope I'm audible. Just a second, let me just check if I'm audible or not and if everything is cool. Yes, I'm perfectly audible. Okay, so we'll just wait for some time so that everyone else can also join. I know that it's not a time where everyone feels to study, but yes, we have to stay motivated. Why? Because we want great ranks in KCET and it is going to be a good journey, right, together? Just give me a second, I'll post it in the WhatsApp channel such that anyone else probably is there in the channel can come and join. Yeah? Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. So in the previous session of Human Reproduction chapter, we discussed about the male reproductive system, and today we are going to discuss about the female reproductive system, which is again a very important topic that has come from this chapter. So obviously we should be making sure that we understand each and everything. And for those of you who feel that, ma'am, actually it's too early to start studying for KCET examination or basically any other examination as such, listen to me. The one who prepares or basically who has a plan, initial plan, a good plan, is the one who is going to be relaxing later on. They will have X amount of time to do whatever they want to do later on. Okay, you can probably look out for different interests as well later on. So make sure you start learning from this point itself. And with that note, let's begin the class. And the first part of the story, as we all know, whenever we talk about the reproductive system, the reproductive system itself can be divided into multiple things. The first part would be the primary sex organ. Why do you call this as the primary sex organ? Because it makes something that is super important for the reproductive system, and that is what? Gametes. So if gametes are not there, do you think reproduction can happen? Sexual reproduction can happen? Obviously no. These gametes have to come, they have to fuse together, and then only we say that the sexual reproduction process is taking place. Now the primary function is what? To produce the gametes, which is why the organ that is responsible for production of these gametes are known as what? The primary sex organ. So if at all you have been asked this question that basically XYZ person, what is the primary sex organ in the case of female reproductive system? The answer would be where the gametes are made. And where are the gametes made, Baba? It is made in the ovary. So ovary is the primary sex organ that we have. And the ovaries, if at all we see, it's right up there. Okay, it's right up there. Where is it present? It's present in the abdominal region. It is basically in the lower abdominal region. So if it over here, if at all we see, okay, suppose this is a female. So this is the area where the ovary and everything would be present. Specifically, I'll call this as what? The lower abdominal region. Do you know where does the abdomen starts from? Basically, you know we have heart, right? The portion below it, okay, we say that that's the end of the thoracic cavity. Below that, whatever you have over here is basically the abdomen. Suppose you have your heart over here, basically from this point onwards you have your abdomen. Now in the abdomen also, the lower part of the abdomen is where you have the ovary. This is very important. Okay, so apart from that, what is other thing that is given about ovary in your textbook? So first thing, it's a primary sex organ. Bam, we discussed about that. So we have discussed that it produces gametes. What do you call the gametes in the case of females? You call this ovum. What do you call the gametes in the case of males? You call them sperm, right? So ma'am, do they only produce ovum or do they have any other functions also? So they produce ovum, and apart from that, you know, the female body has to have some secondary sexual characters as well, and for that obviously you will need the help of some hormones. So the ovarian hormones are also produced over here. So ovum is produced, that is the gametes, and apart from that, some ovarian hormones are also produced in the primary sex organ out there. Now where is it located? We discussed about it. It is basically located on each side of the lower abdomen. In the lower abdominal region, on each of the sides, what do you have? You have the ovary present. So 2 ovary, basically a pair of ovaries there. Now what is the size of it? The size of it is 2 to 4 centimeter. What is it? It is 2 to 4 centimeter, and this is a critical information that you have. And mostly children get confused regarding this. So I'll tell you a basic funda, okay? In the case of testis which was there, we studied that the width of it is also given. So width of it is 2 to 3 centimeter, and basically the length of it is 4 to 5. And I told you to learn it in this way, that is 2, 3, 4, 5. In this particular case, they have not mentioned anything about the width or the length. They have mentioned that the ovary measures from 2 to 4 centimeter. Ovary measures from 2 to 4 centimeter. So please do remember it's 2 to 4, and do not get confused with this data which is available for testis. Very, 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 very important. Okay, so the ovary is 2 to 4 centimeter basically in length, and is connected to the pelvic and the pelvic wall and the uterus by the ligaments. What do you mean by that? So listen to me very carefully. Here you have the uterus. Okay, this is the uterus, this is the ovary. You have 2 ovary. Now the ovary cannot stay in air. Obviously it has to be connected. It has to be connected. It has to stay in the place. Otherwise what is going to happen? When we move around, obviously ovary will not stay in the place. So for that, obviously it needs some attachment out there. So it is attached to 2 things. Okay, one is the pelvic wall. So basically this wall that you see over here is the pelvic wall. Is what? The pelvic wall that you have, and the ovary is right over here. So it has an attachment to the pelvic wall such that it stays at the place. And apart from that, it is also attached to the uterus. It is also attached to the uterus with the help of what? With the help of ligaments. So this is a ligament that attaches the ovary to the uterus, and this is the ligament that attaches ovary to the pelvic wall out there. So the name of the ligament is not given in your NCERT, but please know this particular ligament which is there looks like a sheath, right? It's known as broad ligament. It is known as broad ligament. But anyway, I hope you have got an idea of it. Okay, so I'll repeat it once more. Listen to me very carefully. That is, when I say that the ovary is there, the ovary is not in the air. It is attached to 2 places. One is the pelvic wall such that it remains there with the help of what? With the help of ligaments. And apart from that, it is also attached to the uterus with the help of what? With the help of another ligament right up there. So we have 2 ligaments to be studied out there. But the names of that is not given in NCERT. Neither it is asked in KCET. So it should not be a big thing to worry. Yes? Sagar, hello dear, hello. And by the way, Sagar, I know that you're waiting for the pharmacy video. I have already recorded it. It is going to go on Saturday. Yes, it is going to come out on Saturday. And as of now, the option entry is also not opened. I checked it today as well. Yes, it's okay. It's okay. Slowly. So similarly, same thing happened with you, right? So when your batch was there, initially the children were very, very less. Towards the examination, everyone was like, oh my God, I have to study. So probably they will have an earlier realization this time. So do not worry. Yeah? Okay, so let's go ahead with the next thing that is there. As I said, it is attached. Please do remember that. Now going ahead to the next part of the story, and that is, it is covered by thin epithelium enclosing the ovarian stroma. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? So let's go. Listen to me carefully, okay? So over here, when I say the ovary is there, and if I had to go inside the ovary and check what is up there, I'll get an idea that basically the ovary is divided into something like this. Basically, whatever is inside the ovary, I can call this as the stroma. What do I call it? I will call this as the stroma. Okay, whatever is there inside the ovary, I'll call this as a stroma. And stroma is actually divided into 2 parts. The outer part that you see in yellow over here is known as cortex, and the inner part which is presented in red over here, it is known as what? Medulla. So listen to me carefully. If you go inside the ovary, whatever thing is there inside, you will call this as stroma. And stroma can be divided again into 2 parts. What is there? The outer part is known as cortex, and the inner part which is there, it is known as the medulla. So over here in the cortex, this is where your ovary ovum is developing. Okay, your ovum is developing, and basically while it develops, there are so many cells to nourish it, to take care of it, and there are so many stages of its development. So that stages you can see it over here in the cortical region. And obviously if at all someone is developing, you need to provide nourishment, you need to provide a lot of other things as well, which is why you will need blood vessels and lot of things. Those blood vessels are there here in the medulla. Okay, those blood vessels are there in the medulla. So please remember that over here. So ovary has stroma. Stroma is divided into two things, cortex and the medulla. Medulla is basically a place where you have your blood vessels and everything out there, and medulla is the place where you have the blood vessels, and cortex is the place where the ovum is basically developing. Now when I say that it's stroma, you need to understand that outside the stroma there should be some lining to cover all of it up, right? So we generally say that there's a thin epithelium. What do you say? We say that there's a thin epithelium enclosing the stroma. That means if this part of the story is the stroma, there should be some epithelium covering it. And what do you call that epithelium as? Again, not given in your NCERT, but you should be knowing about it. That epithelium is known as what? Germinal epithelium. It is known as germinal epithelium. It is the outer thin layer of cells. It is basically protective outermost coat which is there. Now inside the germinal epithelium, obviously it's not mentioned in your NCERT, but you should know there is tunica albuginea. It's a dense connective tissue. Again, that is, suppose something is dense out there, it's a connective tissue, it will be mostly for what? For support and things like that. Ma'am, is this something that is going to come in KCET? No. Is this something that is useful for me to remember? And no? Yes, obviously. What's the problem of knowing one more extra thing out there? It's obviously good, right? You know, you have some extra knowledge out there, right? And the next part of the story is cortex. As I told you, cortex contains follicles and hormones. Cortex contains follicles. These follicles have your developing ovum out there. Yeah? So site of ovum production and hormone secretion is what you call as cortex. What is the medulla? Medulla is a core with so many blood vessels out there. Why do you need those blood vessels? For supporting the ovarian function. Basically, as I said, for transfer of anything that is important, you will need that. Cool. Shots. Hello. Microsoft account. Hello, I am a KCET dropper who got 2 lakhs, so I have bad basics. I joined offline KCET coaching for discipline, but I'm confused on where to do questions. That coaching does those 3 fat MTG objective books for PCM, but they have okay, should I switch to? Yes, so listen to me carefully. Yes, the batch DPPs would be better. And also one more very important thing, it's like do the previous year questions and the batch DPPs, obviously of KCET level. That would be more than enough for cracking KCET examination. Yeah? So in MTG also, it's not like every page of the MTG is super important. As I said, the previous year questions, obviously yes, it gives you an idea of the type, the level of questions that comes in KCET, and obviously questions like that comes are put in DPP, so probably you can practice some DPPs also. Yeah? Works? Cool. So Baba, we were talking about ovary, and I hope everything is been super clear. Just to sum everything up, whatever we studied until now, so listen to me carefully, okay? So over here I have this is the ovary. This does not look like the ovary, but please understand this is the ovary, okay? Ovary, I say the measurement is 2 to 4 centimeter. Is this piece of information important? Yes. Ovary has an outer layer of thin epithelium. What do you call this thin epithelium as? You have a name for it. You will call this as germinal epithelium. Okay, ma'am. Within the germinal epithelium, what do you have? Actually, within it, you have another layer that is known as tunica albuginea. But if at all you want to skip that and learn what is there in your NCERT, so I'll say that there is stroma. And the stroma is basically divided into 2 parts. That is the outer cortex which is there. Okay, there is what? The outer cortex which is there, and basically inside it you have, inside it you have this part which is known as the medulla. Later on, we are saying one more very important thing, that the ovary is attached to the uterus via ligament and also to the pelvic wall via ligament. That is also there. I explained you with the help of the picture, and I hope that is also clear. These are the things that you need to remember. And ovary is known as the primary sex organ. It is known as the primary sex organ. Why primary? Because it does the primary job of a sex organ, and that is to produce what? Basically ovum, that is the gamete, and also to produce what? The hormones out there. And to produce what? The hormones out there. The ovarian hormones such as estrogen, progesterone, and things like that. Got it? So these two things do remember. Okay. Now we go ahead with the next thing. Ma'am, please tell, oh my God, just a second. Guys, if at all there is someone watching this video who are from 2027 batch, try to solve this question. The ovaries are located one on each side of the lower abdomen and is connected to the pelvic wall and the uterus by what? Ligaments, tendon, loose connective tissue, and dense irregular connective tissue. What do you think is the answer? So, shots. Ma'am, please tell me what to select. I'm in trouble. I'm unable to choose one between PES EC Campus CSE versus Dayananda Sagar CSE versus JSSTU AIML. What's your interest? First of all, you should be knowing that. Is it CSE? Is it AIML? Okay, know that. And obviously, if at all you had to make a comparison between PES Campus and Dayananda, since actually Dayananda comes at the top and then comes PES EC Campus, Electronic City Campus, but for PES University, the Ring Road and the other one, they have a combined placement, which is why I'll say in that case PES CS would be better. Okay. Okay, so Microsoft account says, oh my God, thank you so much. Microsoft account says the answer for this question is what? Ligaments. Exactly. And thank you so much for answering. So ovaries are located on each side, and as I said, they are connected to the pelvic wall and the uterus by ligaments. There are two separate type of ligaments. The name of it, obviously you do not have to learn it right now, but just understand that it's there. Okay. Yes. Now, hello ma'am, good morning. Hello camera video. Good afternoon. So I said good morning. I'm so sorry. Good afternoon. Okay ma'am, so just DPP plus PYQ enough. Is there a particular type of question for KCET given in DPP? As many say, solve JEE main easy questions. No, I will never recommend you to solve any JEE mains easy question. That will be a wrong way to deal with things. How do you understand whether it's easy or not? So basically, how do you understand whether KCET has those type of questions only? No, we cannot guarantee that, right? For that, we have to solve KCET level of questions. And by the way, okay, for everyone who is watching this video, since we are talking about that, there is Pariksha Veera crash course, not crash course at all. So the 1 year long course that we are launching. We have launched actually, okay, and the enrollments are ongoing. The classes are going to start from the month of July. On July 6th, the classes would be there. Over here, you will be getting your second PUC, complete second PUC preparation being done by November 6th, such that you can be free for your pre-boards and your boards and everything, all your practicals and everything, such, in a way that you can also prioritize some other examination if at all you have anything in your mind. Please note, July 6th is the date where the classes are starting. There will be 4 subject PCMB, all of it will be there. There will be classes on, each and every day except on Sundays and 2nd and 4th Saturdays. Okay, 2nd and 4th Saturdays and Sundays it's not there. Apart from that, all the day you have classes. All the classes would be of 1 hour 45 minutes, such that all your concepts are being dealt nicely. And the platform is going to be Vedantu platform, so obviously the interaction level is going to be really good. So that is up there, and there is unlimited DPP generator, and there are so many other things that are there as a feature over here. So if at all you're someone who is looking forward for a course, you can go ahead. Okay, if you're someone who is looking forward for a course. Yes, and now going ahead with the next thing that is up there. Since we have solved this question, we have got the answer, I think it's time to go ahead with the next concept out there, and that is the female accessory duct. The female accessory duct, that is oviduct, uterus and the vagina. So this thing is where children get confused. So duct is basically something that helps in the transport of the gamete. So most of the times we think it's just oviduct, but also do remember it's uterus and vagina as well. They are also coming under the accessory ducts. So if at all we see the picture of it, okay, if at all we see the picture of the female reproductive system, we see this picture, right? Here, when I say that this is the ovary, this part is the ovary, and this is where the ovum is being made. Okay, now what happens to the ovary? Sorry, the ovum out there, the ovum needs to get transported. Why it needs to get transported? Because Baba, the sperms are going to come from here. You need to understand that. So logically, if at all you think, the ovum needs to move out of the ovary, get inside this particular structure that you see. What is this particular structure that you see over here? Looks like a pipe and things like that, right? What do you call this? This is what you call as oviduct, or you also call this as fallopian tube. I'm pretty sure you have studied this previously, but still just reminding you. Okay, it's known as fallopian tube, or basically it is known as oviduct out there. Okay, now, so the ovum has been transported over here. The ovum is transported. You need to understand that the ovum stays over here. It does not move ahead, it stays at this particular point itself. For what? For the sperm to come and fuse with it, basically for the process of fertilization to happen. But ma'am, how does sperm come in? Listen. So this part of the story we have to understand, then only we can go ahead to understand the next thing, right? So over here, when I say there is oviduct, the next part that you see in this particular picture is going to be the uterus. Post that, this particular part that you see is going to be the vagina. And vagina is the opening that is there for the female reproductive tract. Over here in this opening, the male external genital organ, that is the penis, is being inserted, and the sperm is going to be released over here. These sperms which are released over here are going to get entry into the uterus, So first we had vagina, okay, then here we have the uterus, the entrance part of the uterus, this part of the uterus, okay, we actually have a name for it. You call this as cervix. Then we say it has moved into the uterus. Now once it is there inside the uterus, it has two ways to go. Either it can go this way or it can go on the next oviduct. Okay, so anyway it will go. So over here, when the sperms are being released inside, the sperm would be coming and then fusing in the fallopian tube. They're going to fuse in the fallopian tube or the oviduct. Now when the sperm and the ovum is going to fuse, what are you going to get, Baba? You will be getting zygote. That is known as fertilization. Okay, it's known as fertilization. Now you have to think, you have to use your imagination out there. You have the zygote being made. The zygote is a single cell, but it cannot remain as a single cell always. We all were once a zygote, but now we are a whole big human being out there, right? So this zygote, one cell zygote which is there, unicellular structure which is there, is going to divide. One cell becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, and the cell keeps on dividing. What do you call it now? We say the zygote has now formed to form what? Embryo. Has now divided to form embryo. And you only think the fallopian tube obviously is not going to be having enough space where the embryo can completely divide and form a baby out there. It will be too difficult to do that, which is why the embryo which is there, we will study that in the later stage of this particular chapter, but just telling you, the embryo which is there, it will roll down from here, it will move down from the fallopian tube and come over here in the uterus. It will come down over here in the uterus where it is going to divide, and later it forms the baby up here. It forms the entire baby or the fetus up here. That is a long story short. Okay, so as of now, while we are talking about the accessory ducts, we are talking about all the places where the gamete is going to move around. So one is your fallopian tube, next one is going to be your uterus, because this is also where the gamete obviously has been fused and forms the embryo, and later on this particular embryo which becomes a fetus later on moves out through the vagina, which is why we say this and this, all of it is the accessory duct. We'll say it is the accessory duct. Do remember that. Never get it wrong. Some children get it wrong. They forget that particular part, that okay, these things are also a part of accessory duct. Now you are going to Satvik, Yes, dear, tell me. Thank you so much for taking your time to answer my questions. Microsoft, you're most welcome, dear. Okay. Cool. Now going ahead with the next thing, that is we will talk in detail about the oviduct, or as I said, the fallopian tube. We have to talk about its part. We have to talk about all the parts which are there over here. So the first part that you have nearest to the ovary is going to be what? It is going to be known as infundibulum. It is going to be known as infundibulum. But if at all I start talking like that, it is going to be super boring. So to make it a bit interesting, let's go ahead and listen to me carefully. So when I say that this is the oviduct, I am going to name them. This chutko part over here, which is very, very, very narrow, I will have a name for it. I will call this isthmus. Okay, what do I call it? Isthmus. This portion which is going to get a bit broader, okay, I will call this as ampulla. It's the broader region. So isthmus is what? Isthmus is the narrow region. Ampulla is what? Ampulla is the broad region out there, and then comes the major guy out here. And what is that? It is basically the infundibulum. It is going to be the infundibulum. And infundibulum has finger-like projections out there. It has finger-like projections out there. What do you call it? You call this as fimbriae. So just imagine over here. Here in the ovary, the ovum is being made. And to provide nice kind of massage and all, this particular fimbriae says, Macha, you give me the ovum and I'll take it by, you just give me. So that type of thing is happening over here. What is this thing that is doing this massage? It's basically the fimbriae. Actually, the fimbriae is finger-like in structure. Why? Because it wants to collect the ovum. Okay, it wants to collect the ovum. Later on, this ovum passes through the infundibulum, then goes to what? The ampulla, then goes to the isthmus. As I said, over here, it does not travel throughout like that. It goes and wastes somewhere such that the sperm can come and fuse as well. We will be talking more about it right over here, but I hope you have got the basics of it. Satvik says, Ma'am, I'm interested in mechanical, but I am concerned of package, so taking RV Mech would be a good choice, or should I go to CSE in Tier 2 colleges? It's totally your call, actually. If at all you're really interested in mechanical and you're pretty much sure about your interest in that particular case, you can go with RV Mech. Okay, it's not too bad. As I said, for any of the courses which is there, even in the top colleges, you would have to maintain a top CGPA. If the CGPA has been maintained well enough, there are higher chances for you to get placements. Okay, and that's one thing. Second is basically, suppose you're in RV, in the second, if you have maintained a very brilliant CGPA, probably you can have a branch change. But I'm sure from mechanical to CSE, obviously that won't be possible. But yes, you can talk to your seniors about it. Okay, so first thing, to make it clear, a bit more clear, if you're pretty sure about going ahead with mechanical and you feel that, okay, later on, if I'm pretty sure that I would not be regretting it, go ahead with RV mechanical branch, but you would have to maintain a very strong CGPA. Okay, now talking about the Tier 2 college, if at all you give me some names, probably I would be more confident enough to talk about it. Any random college would not be a good decision to go ahead, even if it's for CSE. The college needs to have at least some good amount of placement, then only should be considered it. Okay, and the best way to confirm that is to talk to the people who have studied there. Yes, Satvik, I hope I am able to. Okay, PES EC campus. PES EC campus would work, definitely. Why? As I said, PES EC and PES Ring Road has a combined placement, or at least until now it was like that, which is why it will be still okay if at all you're taking CSA out there in PES. But that is your interest, you like CSE, then only go ahead. Okay? Fine. Now coming back over here. Yes, you're most welcome. Okay, so oviduct, fallopian tube, now length is 10 to 12 centimeters. So basically from this to this, how much is a centimeter? It's 10 to 12 centimeter. Now it extends from the ovary to the uterus. Yes, it extends from the ovary and goes up until the uterus. Okay, infundibulum is a funnel shaped structure near the ovary. Don't you think it's like a funnel? Yes, it's like a funnel. So I'll say it's funnel shaped structure that you have near the ovary. Then you have fimbriae, finger like projections that collects the ovum. So infundibulum has finger-like projection, you call them as fembrae, and they are the one that collects the ovum. That is also correct. Ampulla is the wider middle part. I told you this is the wide part that you have, the broad part that you have, that is known as ampulla. And finally you have isthmus. You have finally isthmus. So if at all you forget the flow of it, always remember IAI. IAI, infundibulum, ampulla, isthmus. Okay? Hello Lord Gaming, how are you? So long after I have seen you, my God. Okay, now isthmus is a narrow part that connects to the uterus. We discussed about it, which is why all of it is being already done. Cool. Now listen to me very carefully. I'll give you a detail which probably would be shared with you towards the later phase of this particular chapter as well. The ovum which is released, it actually stays in the ampulla, and this is where fertilization is going to happen. This is where the fertilization process is going to happen. That means the sperm that comes in basically has to come over here, has to fuse here in the ampulla. So in the very old NCERT that you had, it was mentioned as ampullary isthmic region. That means between ampulla as well as isthmus, but now they have corrected it and they have put it as what? Just ampulla. Okay? Cool. So good to see you, Lord Gaming. Anyways, so yes, now going ahead with the next thing that is up there, and that is what? The uterus. As I told, first part of the oviduct, first part of the accessory duct is going to be the oviduct, and the second part is going to be the uterus, and this is what we are gonna talk. Anupam, thank you so much. And my dear, I am not supposed to talk any other language or Hindi over here since it's a dedicated English channel. But if at all you have any doubts here and there and you literally want me to talk about that in some language that I know, then obviously I can help. Yes? Yes. Okay. Now talking about the uterus, what do we have? We have so many things up over here which needs to be remembered and which needs to be studied as well. So for making things a bit more clear, let's make the uterus right over here. Okay, so this is the uterus. I know it's not shaped well, but anyways, and suppose here you have your oviduct. Okay, this is your fallopian tube and everything. That is not our concern anymore. Our concern is what? The uterus over here. In the uterus, at the topmost region, you have a thing. Okay, you have something over here. And what do you call that something as? You call this as uterine fundus. You will call this as uterine fundus. Is that important, ma'am? No, but you know what? Sometimes they can ask you some silly questions and you might be like, oh my God, I didn't study it because I also thought it was silly. So anyways, please remember it is known as uterine fundus. Now comes to the major part. Uterus basically has 3 walls. How many? 3 walls. The outermost wall which is there, it is known as perimetrium. It is known as what? Perimetrium. Okay, here and there you have the outermost wall. Then we have a wall which is made up of the muscular layer. It is basically a muscular wall or muscular layer wall that we have. What do you call this? You call this as myometrium. Okay, myometrium. Okay, myocene you might have heard anyways. So myometrium is basically what? Is a muscular layer that you have. Now why do you need muscles over here in the uterus, ma'am? So you might have heard about basically the women menstruating, right? How do you think they are menstruating? Or basically how do you think the blood is going out? Obviously there are contractions happening up over there such that the blood flows out. And where does this blood come from? We'll all talk about all of it over here. Listen to me carefully. Or basically when the baby wants to be moving out from the mother's body, obviously there is contraction. Who is responsible for this contraction? This guy, that is the myometrium, which is the muscular layer. And the muscles which are over here are what type of muscles? There are multiple type of muscles, right? So what type of muscles makes the myometrium? It is going to be the smooth muscles that make up the myometrium. They are smooth muscles. And what is the feature about smooth muscles that you need to know? They are involuntary. They are not under your control. They are basically not under your control. Okay, they are involuntary muscles that you have. It is going to do its own work. It takes the command from the brain directly. Cool. Yes. So basically we cannot stop the contraction if at all it's happening. It's basically the brain's work to do. So this was the first layer, this is the second layer, and now you have the innermost layer out there, and this layer is the most famous amongst all of them. And what do you call this layer as? This layer is known as, any guesses by the way? Any guesses on what is the name of the innermost layer of the uterus? If at all anyone knows, please let me know. It will be really, really good to see your participation as well. Any idea? What do you call the innermost layer that you have in the uterus? Ding, 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 ding. Waiting. Processing. Do not know, ma'am. Okay, I'll tell you. So listen to me carefully. The innermost layer that you have is known as endometrium. It is known as endometrium, and this is a very important feature about endometrium that you need to remember, and that is, it is a glandular layer. It is a glandular layer. That means it is richly supplied by multiple glands out there. This is basically a layer which have blood vessels, supply blood and a lot of things, and this is the layer which is going to shed down during the process of menstruation. So the process of menstruation, what exactly happens is that the endometrium also has multiple layers. Obviously we are not going to go in that depth, but I'm just telling you. So in endometrium you have to think that one layer is going to be permanent, it is always going to be there, and the other layer is something that is going to shed down, and then the permanent layer makes up the other layer again, and it is all cool. Again the other layer sheds down. This is how usually it happens. So you should know, if at all a question comes, that which is that layer that undergoes cyclic changes. That undergoes cyclic changes means every single cycle it undergoes some changes. Basically it sheds down. What is that layer? It is going to be the endometrium. It is going to be the endometrium. So what are the three wall layers of uterus that we have? Outermost is perimetrium, that is the protective layer that you have, P for perimetrium and P for protection. Okay, then you have myometrium, M for myometrium, M for muscles. So it is basically the muscular layer. And what type of muscles? Smooth muscles. So smooth muscles are what, ma'am? Smooth muscles are involuntary muscles. They do not listen to anyone, and basically they do their job according to what the brain tells them, right? And the innermost layer that you have is a glandular layer which is supplied by blood vessels, hormones, lot of things. It is known as endometrium, and it undergoes cyclic changes. Which layer undergoes cyclic changes? Endometrium. Okay, which layer is responsible for contraction? Myometrium. So please know these stark differences. It is definitely so important for you. So uterine wall layers, we just read about it and then we'll come back again over here to talk more about it. Okay, so perimetrium is the thin outer membrane. Please remember, it is thin. Now ma'am, these type of questions also come. Yes, they can give you perimetrium, thick outer membrane, and endometrium, thin inner membrane. So you have to know about these small specifications as well. So perimetrium is the thin outer membrane. What about myometrium? Thick, smooth muscle. Obviously if you're talking about muscular layer, it has to be thick only. So here it is going to be thick. Okay, what about endometrium? Endometrium is the inner glandular layer. They have not mentioned thin or thick, so anyway you just have to remember the inner glandular layer. Okay, perimetrium is what? Perimetrium is going to be what? Thin outer layer. Myometrium, thick muscular layer. Endometrium, nothing about that. It just says that it is glandular and it is cyclic. Okay, it undergoes cyclic changes. Done. Okay, now we come back over here, and you might have heard about the thing that is cervix or vagina and things like that. We are going to talk more about it over here. So Baba, if at all we see, if I say that basically this is the uterus, it has something like this over here. This particular part of the uterus is actually known as the cervix. This is known as what? The cervix. And the canal sort of thing that you see over here is known as cervical canal. It is known as the cervical canal. Beyond this particular point, you have a hollow space like this. What do you call this particular part? This is known as the vagina. It is known as the vagina. So basically vagina opens into what? Cervical canal, and then the uterus, and then it goes like that. Okay, now vagina is the place where the male external genital organ can do the entry and basically release the sperm, not beyond it. It cannot go beyond it. Okay, please know that. which is why, so we say it's a pathway for the sperms to go inside the female reproductive tract, and also it is a pathway for the next very important thing to happen, and that is what? The fetus to move on. For the fetus to move out of the female body, once the fetus is forming over here, it needs to move out. So it is going to pass through what? First stop will be cervical canal, and the second stop is going to be what? The vagina, which is why I'll call the cervical canal plus the vagina as this and this together as the birth canal. I'll call this as what? I'll call this as the birth canal. So cervical canal and the vagina together becomes the birth canal. Please know that. Okay, so this is the uterus, this is the cervix that you have over here, and the gap that is there, it is known as the cervical canal. Obviously, I made a very small baby, it does not look like this. It has to be a very big baby passing through a very small passage, yeah. And over here you have the vagina, which is the vagina plus the cervical canal forms the birth canal. Cool? Cool, ma'am. Okay, so if that is cool, that means that we have studied everything which is important. But listen to me, let's see what is there in the NCERT. Let's read it out. The shape of the uterus is inverted pear. If at all you have had pear, if you have eaten pear in your life, or basically pears is what you call it. If you have eaten that fruit, you know it looks like this. The uterus is going to be inverted. So it's basically, if you make the ulta of this, it becomes something like this. This is known as the inverted pear. So I'll say the uterus is inverted pear in shape. Yes, ma'am, absolutely correct. What is the support? It is held by ligaments attached to the pelvic wall. You remember I told you that there is basically the pelvic wall right over here. Basically the wall of the female, right? That is the pelvic wall. Now it is attached. I told you here you have what? The ligaments being attached to this. So the uterus stays in place. Why? Because you have ligaments in between the pelvic wall and the uterus. So it is held by ligaments attached to the pelvic wall. Absolutely correct. This is also cool. It opens into vagina through the narrow cervix. Yes, I told you this is the vagina that is there, and it opens through what? This particular region which you see is very, very narrow. It is known as cervix. So when a baby wants to move out, okay, when the fetus moves out, it is basically the cervix has to dilate. Lot of things happen. Obviously, you should be probably going and falling on the feet of your mother and saying, oh my God, thank you, mama, for giving birth to me. It's a very painful process. Why? Because it's naturally very narrow. Get it? Under the influence of the hormones and a lot of the other things, which is why it becomes dilated, and that is how you basically, we all came into this particular world. Yes? So it opens into vagina through the narrow cervix. We studied about that. Cervical canal plus the vagina is equals to birth canal. Have we studied about that? Yes, ma'am. We already discussed it over here. Okay, cervical canal plus the vagina is forming the birth canal. Okay, cool, ma'am. What else? Nothing else. Uterine, all the different wall layers of the uterus also you have studied, which means that you are good to go with the term that is uterus. The term uterus, or basically the part uterus, is completely done according to your NCERT. So as of now, until now, we have studied the female primary sex organ, ovary. We discussed about it. We are talking about the female accessory duct, okay, or basically the past passage for the gametes to transfer. One part of the duct is oviduct, and the next is uterus, and the third one is basically the vagina. Third one is the vagina. So we have spoken about the vagina also over here, so that has also been done, which means that this topic closes over here. Accessory duct closes over here. Please know these three things forms the duct. Cool. Now we go to the female external genital organ, but before I go to that, you have to solve this question out there. Match the layers of uterus given in column 1 with the characteristics feature given in column 2 and choose the correct option from the codes given below. So basically you have to do the matching over there and check over here and tell me the answer for this. Anyone who probably is watching this video, because I do not know how many of you are actually watching and studying, so do let me know if you're here. I really would love to see the answer for this. Oh my God. I showed you the answer, by the way. But anyway, if you want to still try, you can. Any idea? No idea? I don't want to answer now, ma'am. I'm a little shy. Probably after a few days, I'll start talking to you and then I'll give the answer. If that's what you're thinking as of now, then you do not need to be shy. Listen, I'm not here to judge you. Even if you give me wrong answer, I'll not judge you. Probably I'll explain you once more. That's the maximum I could do. Right? Okay, no way, it will take some time. So probably until then I'll only solve this question. How do we solve this question? So whenever you have matched the following question, this is the usual thing that I've told to the seniors out there, okay, and that is always match A and C first and then only go ahead with anything else. So A is perimetrium, perimetrium protective layer, P for perimetrium, P for protective layer, and we know it is thin. We discussed it is what? Thin. So A goes with 4. A goes with 4 because everything else is thick, 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 and one is glandular. Okay. Now what is endometrium? Endometrium is the innermost layer, and endometrium is the only one which is what? Glandular layer out there. So C goes with 3. A goes with 4. A goes with 4. This is the only option that we have, which means that we have already got the answer. We have already got the answer. And B goes with 1. Myometrium is the muscular layer, and it has to be thick membranous. No, it is thick layer of smooth muscles. So it goes with 1, right? And C goes with 3. We have already found that out, which is why the answer for this question is going to be B, and we discussed about it. We already got to have an understanding of it, and it's all cool. Clear? Clear, children? Done? Anyone who is watching this video continuously, if you think that you have understood it, can you give me a thumbs up? Hello, hello, hello. 2026 children over here. Which is important, college, brand or branch? Both equally. If you're getting both at one place, it will be really good. If at all you say college brand also. Okay, actually college brand weighs both ways more, but if you are someone who is looking for the college brand and is going out there, and later you realize that your branch does not have enough placement, then it is of no use. Right, okay, I have studied from this place, but I do not have placement. That is obviously not a good thing to say, right? So it's always good to go at places where both this thing is somehow matched. Yes? Okay. So now going ahead with the next part of the story, and that is the female external genital organ. Okay, female external genital organ, and that is basically what? That it consists of so many things in your NCERT, and I know this is the most confusing part that you have, which is why I'm here to help you out. So listen to me very carefully, otherwise you will not understand this topic at all. So there is a fat cushiony layer over here. So if at all there is a female, okay, there is a female, and basically the legs are being spread, and if at all we see the external genital part, external genitalia means it is an external part, it's outside the body, okay, and it's a genital part. Basically it helps in the process of sexual reproduction. Okay, the topmost region, which is cushiony, and also it would be having hair on it, this particular part is known as mons pubis. It is known as what? Mons pubis. Please know it's a cushiony thing, and it also has hair on it. And basically these hairs which are there over there is for protection of the female body or the female external genitalia part. Cool. Now, it is mentioned in your NCERT that basically there's a fleshy fold of tissue that comes up like this. Okay, there's a fleshy fold of tissue that comes up like this. I'll call this fleshy fold of tissue as the labia minora. Labia majora. I'll call this as labia majora. Now at this point also you will not understand anything, which is why we have to go deeper. We'll say that one more. Something like this is there, fleshy folds of tissue. There is a fleshy fold over here. And basically this lines the vagina. So if at all we think that this is the vagina, just outside the vagina there will be the fleshy fold that is present, and this fold is known as labia minora. So there is labia minora and there is labia majora. Labia majora is outside, labia minora is inside. Labia minora is something that covers this particular opening, and that is basically, this opening is of what? Is basically nothing but the vagina. Cool. Just above the vaginal opening you have the urethral opening, as in the urine passes through this particular opening out there. You will say that this is what? The urethral opening which is there. So in the case of males, you know that both the the urine as well as the semen passes through the same place, that is the penis out there, or basically the urethra out there. But here it's different. Urethral opening is separate and vaginal opening is separate. So female reproductive tract goes to the vaginal, and basically urethral opening goes up at the urinary bladder and then later to the kidneys. That is how it goes. Cool? Now, the point where two labia minora are joining, you call this particular portion as clitoris. You say that there's a structure being formed, and what do you call it? Clitoris. It is known as clitoris, and it's a very highly sensitive area, and it is responsible. It's actually containing erectile tissues. So in the case of men, obviously there is penis for doing the erectile function. In the case of females also there is erectile tissue present, and that is where it is in the clitoris, and is super important for the process of sexual excitement to happen. Okay, this place is what? This is a place where the labia minora comes together. Now, obviously, if I teach you like this, it will be, foolishness. Okay, because I also know as a student I have never understood anything out there, so you will need a picture, obviously not an actual picture, but this is how it generally works. So at the topmost portion that is there, as I said, when the legs are being spread, the topmost portion over here would be a layer where the hair, follic hair and so many things would be there. Why? For the protection of the entire region. Okay, this particular cushionary layer which is there is known as mons pubis. Now from this mons pubis, I told you there are two folds that are rising, and that is known as labia majora. So this is what that comes from this, that is from the mons pubis and continues around the vagina, is known as what? The labia majora. Okay, inside the labia majora again you have two folds, and what is this? Labia minora. This labia minora, if at all we see, here we have the vagina and here we have the urethral opening out there, and where both of them come together, you call this structure being formed as what? As clitoris. This is the basic learning that you should be having at this particular point. Okay, now questions have come from this, which is why it is important for you to learn, and also for general understanding also it's super important. I think that you are of age to understand each and everything or all parts of your body, so it's good to have knowledge. Yeah, so mons pubis is what? The fatty cushion with skin and pubic hair. Okay, skin and pubic hair, the features of it is important. They can give you match the following questions, they can confuse you guys, so you should know about it rather than doing rectification. Understand it. So it's a fatty cushiony tissue with what? Skin and pubic hair, not tissue but basically fatty cushiony region with pubic hair as well as skin. Labia majora is what? Fleshy folds surrounding the vaginal opening. So if at all we see in general, it is basically the labia minora that connects everything, but yes, initially with the first part that comes around will be labia majora, so we say that it is fleshy folds surrounding the vaginal opening. Okay, next thing is labia minora, inner paired folds beneath the labia majora. So inner paired folds, paired because we have two folds over here and they are coming under basically majora out there. That is what is written over here. It's beneath the labia majora. Cool. Then we have the hymen. Now about hymen you have not studied it, so listen to me very carefully. The vagina which is there, suppose over here, this is the vagina, this is the opening of the vagina, okay, that is present over here. So there is a thin membranous covering out there, it is partially covering the vaginal opening, and this is known as hymen. This is known as hymen. So usually if at all someone is not sexually active, this hymen would be staying intact. Okay, and if at all they are sexually active, obviously the hymen breaks off. But it's very, very important for you guys to know, and it's also written in NCERT, that the breakage of hymen can happen anytime. If at all there is a woman, probably a girl who is doing cycling continuously, these are exhaustive things, which is exactly why the hymen could break. The hymen could break. If someone goes for horse riding, yes, the hymen could break. So obviously hymen is not an indicative factor of virginity. So we say the loss of virginity is, well, basically they have sexual intercourse. So obviously we cannot say that if the hymen is broken, there is sexual intercourse that have taken place. No guarantee on that, because it could be because of n number of other reasons. And this is again an important question. Is hymen an indicative feature of virginity? Obviously no. It will be obviously a big no. So hymen is a thin membrane partially covering the vaginal opening, may break due to various activities as well. And please know, it's thin membrane, it's partially covering. Okay, thin membrane, and it is partially covering. Now clitoris is what? Small sensitive structure at the junction of labia minora above the urethral opening. Isn't it above the urethral opening? So this is the urethral opening. Above it you have a sensitive structure out there. This is known as clitoris. It is being formed when two labia minora comes together. When two labia minora, basically their folds come together, the structure is being formed. Yes, yes, that is also clear. So this is the female external genital organ, and everyone needs to know about this. This is very important question. It could be coming in KCET as well. We cannot miss it. And there is no thing about being shy and stuff like that. I know that when taught in class, everyone will be like, shh, shh, shh. No, you do not need to be. Okay, obviously you should not be making sensitive things out there. You should not be talking about, what do you say, irrespectful things. But if done with respect, if taught with respect, I think that you also should be giving respect to the teachers who are opening up in front of you, right? Because it's a shushu topic. Obviously it should not be like that. Cool. It's just a part of the body. Yeah. So yes, so mons pubis, you have labia minora, that is fleshy folds surrounding the vaginal opening. Do not confuse it with minora. Yes, minora also surrounds the vaginal opening, but according to NCERT, we have given this as the tag for that, so know that. And then, yes, okay, vagina, you have urethral opening, then the clitoris is there. Vagina has been covered by a thin partial membrane out there, which is known as hymen. Yes, perfect. Now, a fleshy fold of tissue which extends down from the mons pubis and surrounds the vaginal orifice is what? Or basically the vaginal region is what? If at all you have got a question like that, what will be your answer? Will it be A, will it be B, will it be C, or will it be D? What will be the answer for the question? Fleshy fold of tissue which extends down from mons pubis and surrounds the vaginal orifice is known as what? Any idea? It will be known as labia majora. It will be known as labia majora. Why? Because it is clearly been mentioned. It extends down from the mons pubis, and the one that extends down from the mons pubis has to be the labia majora, and it surrounds the vaginal orifice as well. We discussed about it right now, right? So which is why the answer for this question is going to be B, and I showed you the picture that is given over here such that you have a better understanding of lot of things. Cool? Yes. Now, going ahead with the next part. So this picture is also given in your NCERT, and I hope now you have understood what is given in this particular picture. So if you have still not understood, listen to me very carefully. So here, okay, this is a female who's standing like this. Okay, the last part over here would be obviously the anus, the rectum and everything, okay, where the motion stool basically passes down. If at all we see the front region, you have multiple parts. One is urinary bladder and one is uterus. Uterus is different, urinary bladder is different. Urinary bladder is a place where the urine is being stored. Uterus is the place where basically, as I said, if at all a baby fertilization happens, a baby is being formed over here. Okay, so this is the female reproductive part, and this is the excretory part that is there. So reproductive part has an opening over here. You will call this vagina, vaginal opening. The urinary bladder has an opening over here. You will say that this is the urethra, and basically in front of it you have the clitoris. You would have the clitoris, that is the sensitive structure which is found in the case of females. These are the few things that you definitely need to know. Got it? Clear? Is this super clear to all of you? Yes? And now I have a doubt, sorry, not a doubt, basically a homework question for all of you who are there, and that is this. The hymen can be torn by first coitus. First coitus, coitus means what? First sexual activity. Okay? So first coitus, or sudden fall or jolt, insertion of vaginal tampon, and tampon means what? Something that takes up all the blood. You might have heard, you might be knowing about that. If not, please know about that. Instead of sanitary pads, some females, they use tampons also, which can be inserted in the vagina, and then it absorbs all the blood out there, such that there is no leakage. Okay, so that is insertion of vaginal tampon. And active participation in cycling and the horseback riding. What is the reason that the hymen can be torn? Here are the options that is given to you. You have to choose from this, and whenever you watch this video, I want you guys to reply to this particular question in the comment section below. So as of now, obviously I definitely know that you're gonna not reply. So once you're super sure about it, reply in the comment section, and that's all. Yes, cool. So anyone who is watching this video, do you have any doubts regarding what has to be done? If yes, let me know. Okay, so I think I'll wind up the class right away. There is also one more topic. Should I just complete it and then go? Let me think. There's only one chutku topic. We'll just do it and then go. Okay, so this is the mammary glands. The picture of it is super important for the second PUC. Fine. So over here, what are the things that you need to know? I'll tell you. So basically, you see so many structures inside the mammary gland of the female. All of it has name, and you need to remember it, and you need to remember the flow of it, which is why I'll request you to remember it like this. This is the way that I remember. Dal fell on mat. Okay, dal fell on mat. So first thing is that in the mammary gland you have almost 15 to 20 mammary lobes. You have almost 15 to 20 mammary lobes out there, basically sections out there. Inside each of these sections, the first thing that you have is alveoli. Is what? Alveoli. Alveoli looks like this. Okay, now this alveoli which is there, it opens into the next part, and that is known as tubules. It is known as tubules. So basically the alveoli which is over here, it opens into this duct, this particular tube-like structure, which is known as what? Tubule. Okay, so I'll make the thing over here. So this is the alveoli with the tubule. Got it? This is the tubule that you're talking about. Okay, and this is the alveoli. Now what happens? The tubules which are there, they come together to form what? To form the next thing out there, which you call as duct. So basically you had the alveoli, you had the tubule. The tubules are going to join together, and this particular structure which is there is going to be known as what? The duct. The ducts which are there, okay, the ducts which are there, they're going to come together and form what? The next part, which is known as the ampulla. It is known as the ampulla. So basically I had alveoli, okay, tubule, it formed a duct. Similarly, I'll get another duct. From another tubule, another set of alveoli. These two ducts are going to come together to form what? The ampulla. It is known as ampulla. And finally, the ampulla which is there, it will open into what? The lactiferous duct. It will open into what? The lactiferous duct. So you have the mammary lobes. It's basically the segregation thing that is happening. You have 15 to 20 segregations out there inside the mammary gland. Each of them have so many alveoli. The alveoli looks like this. Alveoli opens into mammary tubules. Tubules, tube-like structure. The mammary tubules joins together to form mammary duct. The mammary duct join together to form the ampulla. The ampulla join together to form the lactiferous duct. This is how things are going to go. I hope it is super clear to all of you. So I remember it as dal fell on mat. Dal fell on mat. So if at all you get questions on the basis where you have to arrange all of it it becomes a lot more easy. And if you have a confusion between alveoli and ampulla, remember alveoli is over there, but the next letter is T. In ampulla, the next word is going to be L, ampulla, lactiferous duct. So it is definitely going to help you in that way. And now if at all we see the picture, it looks like this, and I think it will be more clear to you. So about the lobes, they have not given a clear segregation, but you need to understand there will be separate segregations, almost 15 to 20. You have the alveoli over here, and if at all we see this, okay, you see this and this, these are the tubules. Alveoli opens into tubules, tubules open into duct. This is one duct, second duct, third duct. The duct are opening into the, what do you say, ampulla, and the ampulla together opens into what? The lactiferous ducts, which are over here, the lactiferous ducts, and basically that opens into the nipple or the nippular region. Okay, here you have areolar tissue out there, you will be having fat out there, and at the back side of it, obviously there is a rib cage. In between the ribs you have muscles. Cool. So this is what you need to remember, and I think if you know this, all of it is super cool. Again, we will have a quick, what do you say, understanding of it once more in the next section. But I think this is also something that is doable, right? In the next session, probably we might have like a practice on the diagram and things like that. So paired structure breast with glandular tissue and fat. So all of it that is there is basically glandular tissue, and they have fat. 15 to 20 mammary lobes are there with clusters of milk secreting alveoli. Milk stored in the alveoli lumens. Alveolar lumens means inside the alveoli, the space which is there is known as lumen. That is where the milk is being stored. Alveoli opens into mammary tubules, tubules into duct, and the ducts merge together to form the ampulla, and the ampulla opens into lactiferous duct. This is how things work. Cool? Yes. So that's all. That's all for today, and I hope this video was helpful for you in some ways. Obviously, this is just a 1 hour class, and this 1 hour class, if at all you're able to understand everything, I'll be more than great to know that. So yes, that's all. I'll end up the class right over here, and I hope if you have any doubts, you will be posting down in the comment section. Please not shy away from putting that there. And that's all. See you with the next class really soon. And tomorrow you would be having a class by Swamik sir, where he'll be discussing the questions. Cool? And that is for physics. So bye-bye, take care, and lots of love from Jasmine Ma'am.